golden NES cartridges, a necessity for gracious living.
The Legend of Zelda is one of the most celebrated adventure series in all video game history, continuing to make an impact to this day. The 1986 original is often lauded for its action-adventure tale, which would entertain gamers by including what felt like a lived-in world that rewarded exploration. The innovations of this classic game would be continuously built on. For example, Ocarina of Time is consistently ranked in the top games ever released. Breath of the Wild is easily part of why the Nintendo Switch catapulted to being the third best-selling console of all time, right after the Nintendo's own DS and Sony's DVD player that also ran games, the PlayStation 2. While these later iterations would explore a grander narrative and epic lineage of the land of Hyrule, and in many cases, alternate timelines, alternate dimensions and more, the original game has a simple, solid pick-up-and-play feel that can easily be enjoyed to this very day. Rife for adaptation and upgrade, Nintendo themselves would remix and re-release the title many times, from simple ports to the Game Boy Advance and GameCube, full remixes on the Satellaview add-on, or simple homages and reworkings in the various NES Remix and WarioWare titles. Despite this constant return to the land of Hyrule, fans would be begging for more adventures. Fortunately, hackers and modders within the Zelda fan community have us covered, as games like this one we are spotlighting today does what Nintendo don't.
So without keeping the treasure hidden for too long, I am Lady Decade, and this is the amazing Legend of Zelda Outlands.
It's hard to imagine a Nintendo that didn't create The Legend of Zelda. The iconic title started one of the major recurring franchises for the company and is right up there with Super Mario, Kirby and Pokemon. It has frequent releases on every console and isn't pushed to the side like the once legendary racing brand F-Zero, occasional action heroine Samus Aran of Metroid fame, and the "you get me once per generation" status of Super Smash Bros. Always leading with a bit more of a mature edge, this has been a franchise with varying levels of stakes, whether it be simply waking up in the case of Link's Awakening or saving an entire civilization from a crashing moon in Majora's Mask. The swordplay has always had the threats of death, regicide and eternal torment in it.
Maybe these horrors are essentially why Link is a mute. Well, apart from the odd sound like "hey!"
Despite all of these later innovations, it is impossible to overstate the importance of what the first game brought to the table. This title perfected the overhead adventure in the early days of the 8-bit console generation, exploring a game that did work best at home and didn't make sense in the arcade. With the usage of the Famicom Disk System's rewritable discs in the original Japanese release and pioneering battery backup cartridges with its English release, this was a title that rewarded a solo player who had time to explore, time to experiment, and time to map out their plan of attack. Well, unless they had a simple subscription to something like Nintendo Power, then they could sit there for hours on end with the magazine providing a guide years before Navi would be yelling "Hey, listen!" every 5 minutes. Ironically, beating the game would reveal the second quest. By starting a new save with your name as Zelda, that of the princess you're endeavouring to save, the overworld map would remain the same, but dungeons would be mixed up, and players wouldn't be able to rely on the same skill set and well-worn patterns anymore. It's like going back to Aldi or Lidl after a few months, and they've entirely reorganised the store.
Where the hell is the Mexican food section now? Why am I surrounded by pasta sauces?
By adding the second quest, Nintendo effectively doubled the game a player could have on the cartridge. This was revelatory at the time. Sure, Super Mario Bros. Had the more challenging mode where Goombas were turned into Buzzy Beetles and everyone moved faster, but that was just that. A hard mode. Maps weren't significantly rearranged. In 2023, this would be paid DLC that came out a few months later. In 1986, this secret treat would effectively double the lifespan of your playthrough, all as a reward for managing to beat the game. With this in mind, fast forwarding a lady decade or two, and the advent of home emulation, children who grew up with this surprise now had the tools to make their own adventures. Enterprising spirits would hack the code in the game, rearranging items, updating assets, and providing a new experience, bringing us to the likes of the excellent Outlands. While Nintendo does support gaming creation on their official hardware, more often than not it's limited to the world of the Mushroom Kingdom. Players could make their own challenges and creative works between Super Mario Maker, Mario Paint, and WarioWare. F-Zero X had a track creator in Japan, and the Smash Bros games allow for arena creation. But Zelda? Nope, you must look to fan projects and ROM hacks to satisfy your needs.
Fine, if Nintendo aren't going to make a new NES Zelda, I'll make my own, with blackjack and hookers.
Outlands is significant for a few reasons, its unique story being one of them. Often, fan hacks remix the level and art assets, refusing to touch the narrative. Look at the litany of Super Mario World or Sonic the Hedgehog hacks. It's rare to see a new piece of lore introduced. On the other hand, Outlands presents a new story, placing the game as a direct fan-made sequel to The Adventure of Link. The plot is outlined, or outlined in this case, as the Thunderbird, a horrible guardian encountered by Link in the Great Palace of Zelda 2, has somehow survived and is out for revenge. Having lost the Triforce of Courage at the hands of its adversary, it has stolen the Triforce of Power and flown to the vast neighbour of Hyrule, the Outlands. In a world similar to, yet completely different from Zelda 1, Link must track down the captured Tetrarch fairies and, with their help, break open Ganon's secret golden vault, where the creature now resides. Link will face dangers and traps unlike anything Ganon has ever devised. His adventure will span 18 new dungeons hidden within a completely unfamiliar terrain. Zelda herself will make an appearance to help the hero, providing items and sage advice crucial to the new journey. Link has become very skilled in his familiar world of Hyrule, but skill alone is his only advantage. The land of the Outlands is a beautiful yet deadly world, bearing no resemblance to his own cherished kingdom. Developed by Challenge Games and GameMaker24, the entries on romhacking.net do a great job of explaining exactly what's happening in this new title. Essentially, Outlands is an impressive modification of the 1986 classic, with the mod creators going out of their way to change as much as possible. This would include the modders completely overwriting the original map with an all-new one. In doing so, this provides an experience that, although familiar to long-term fans of this all-time great, results in a completely new journey. Players will therefore be guaranteed to be unable to recognise areas from the source material. Not only has the legendary overworld map been reworked, but many of the game's dungeons and other secrets too, meaning that a ton of new exploration can be undertaken and enjoyed. Building on all of this, romhacking.net outlines that secrets are now locked according to what quests you're playing. For example, the rock you push to find a dungeon won't move on the second quest, so you have to find a new entrance somewhere else in the world. The game allows each secret to be set to first quest, second quest, both, or neither. So many places where you can bomb, burn, push things, and use the recorder are quest specific. Most of the monsters have new graphics, including all bosses, and some even have new colours. There are 42 possible block, water and statue arrangements for the dungeon rooms, and all but 3 are brand new. That's just a taste of what has been changed and how much work went into this hack.
Ridiculously impressive stuff.
Modo Challenge Games, partially responsible for this fantastical creation, understood the assignment he had undertaken, reworking the entire overworld map and remixing the secrets after that, giving players 4 potential sets of secrets to find. Given that half the original game was walking around with bombs and trying to find the magical part of the wall to blow up, gamers on this new journey could likely end up feeling frustrated that there's no Nintendo power to sneak hints from, but will be gladly rewarded for their explorations nonetheless. Notably, many of the mechanics of the game haven't been changed. You still get a sword, boomerang, raft and more, but the twists start coming as soon as the first dungeon, in which you can't actually get the prized item at the heart of it. Shocking, I know. That's like Zelda 101, go into a dungeon, beat a boss, and get a new weapon or item. Few things are as crucial to the franchise. That's akin to removing the ability to fight a chicken and unleash a cockapocalypse.
Exterminate.
All in all, this alone is more proof of how different this one is to the game it was based on. So rather interestingly, this game isn't just a pure rehash, as new elements are littered throughout. This includes orange and blue skulls that take away your sword, frequent appearances by Link doppelgangers, and side-scrolling parts that replicate areas of Link's awakening, which certainly is something else entirely different from what can be found in the 1986 effort. Building on change, the game also contains new tiles, graphical upgrades, and an increased colour palette. Even the HUD has got a shiny bit of polish to bring it out of the drab designs Nintendo introduced in the 1980s. The game has received primarily positive feedback online, with the odd complaint that the large number of enemies that appear on screen at once, at points, is known to cause slowdown, something that was largely avoided in the original title. The Legend of Zelda Outlands is a lovingly created fan project that will entertain old school gamers looking to experience a reinvention of an all-time great. It's amazing what lengths some fans will go to deliver new goodness relating to our favourites. Anyway, if you enjoyed this one, why not check out my video where I spend over an hour looking at even more great Zelda fan projects. Subscribe and I'll see you again soon.